It was a Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang at 2:47 p.m. Miss Sarah's name appeared on the screen, and immediately, my stomach dropped. In 3 years of sending my son Jake to Sunshine Daycare, she had never, not once, called me during the middle of the day. Teachers don't call during nap time unless something is really wrong. My hands started shaking as I answered. "Hello?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mrs. Patterson, this is Miss Sarah. Do you have a moment to talk? It's about Jake." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. 1,000 terrible scenarios flashed through my mind in that single second. Was he hurt? Sick? Had there been an accident? I pulled over to the side of the road because I knew I couldn't drive and have this conversation at the same time. If you've ever gotten that call from your child's teacher or daycare, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Drop a comment below and share your story. It helps to know we're not alone in this. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe to help support this channel. Your support means the world to us. "Yes, I'm here," I managed to say. "Is Jake okay? Is he hurt?" "Oh no, nothing like that," Miss Sarah said quickly, and I felt a tiny bit of relief wash over me. "He's physically fine." "But Mrs. Patterson, I really need to talk to you about something I've been noticing over the past few weeks. Do you have time to come in today after pickup? Maybe we could chat for 15 minutes? I agreed immediately. Of course. What else was I supposed to say? But for the next 2.5 hours until pickup time, I was a complete mess. I couldn't focus on work. I kept replaying every morning drop-off in my mind, searching for clues I might have missed. Jake always seemed happy when I dropped him off. He ran right to the toy area. He hugged me goodbye without any fuss. He talked about his friends at dinner. What could possibly be wrong? When I finally pulled into the daycare parking lot at 5:15 p.m., my palms were sweating. I walked through those familiar blue doors that I'd walked through 1,000 times before, but this time everything felt different. The cheerful painted handprints on the walls seemed to mock me. The sound of children laughing in the distance made me feel like an outsider, like I'd been missing something crucial about my own child's life. Jake came running to me the moment he saw me, just like he always did. "Mommy!" he shouted, crashing into my legs with a hug. He looked completely normal. Happy even. His shirt had paint stains on it, and his hair was sticking up in that way it always did after nap time. I hugged him back, breathing in the familiar smell of crayons and apple juice that always clung to him. "Hey, buddy," I said, trying to sound normal. "Did you have a good day?" "Uh-huh, I made a painting." "It's a dinosaur." He pointed to a paper hanging on the drying rack that looked more like a blob of green and purple, but I smiled anyway. "That's amazing, sweetie. Why don't you go play on the carpet for just a few more minutes while I talk to Miss Sarah, okay?" He nodded and ran off without a second thought, which somehow made me feel even worse. If something was wrong, shouldn't he seem upset? Shouldn't there be some sign? Miss Sarah was waiting for me near her desk, that same warm smile she always had, but I could see something else in her eyes. Concern, maybe, or pity. I couldn't tell which was worse. "Thank you so much for making time," she said, gesturing to 2 small chairs clearly meant for parent-teacher conferences. We both sat down, and I felt ridiculous sitting in a chair built for someone half my size, but I was too anxious to care about comfort. "What's going on?" I asked, unable to wait any longer. "You said Jake is fine, but clearly something is wrong. Please just tell me." Miss Sarah folded her hands in her lap and took a deep breath. "Mrs. Patterson, Jake is a wonderful child. He's kind, he's creative, and he's very intelligent for his age. I want you to know that first." I nodded, but inside I was screaming. Teachers always start with the good stuff before they drop the bomb. I braced myself. But over the past several weeks, I've been noticing something that concerns me. Jake has been becoming increasingly withdrawn during certain parts of our day, specifically during circle time and group activities. I blinked. Withdrawn? But he loves circle time. He always tells me about the songs you sing. He does participate in the songs, Miss Sarah said carefully. But it's what happens after that worries me. Whenever we do sharing time, when each child gets a chance to talk about something they brought from home or something they did over the weekend, Jake completely shuts down. At first, I thought maybe he was just shy about public speaking, which is completely normal for 4-year-olds. But it's more than that. She pulled out a small notebook from her desk drawer, and I realized with a sinking feeling that she had been documenting this, taking notes about my son. The teacher part of my brain understood this was good practice, that good teachers observe and record, but the mother part of me felt exposed and defensive. 3 weeks ago, during sharing time, I asked Jake if he wanted to tell us about his weekend. He looked at me, opened his mouth like he was going to say something, and then just looked down at his hands. He wouldn't make eye contact with anyone. When I tried to encourage him gently, he whispered that he didn't have anything to share. My chest tightened. I remembered that weekend. We had gone to the zoo, we had gotten ice cream. We had played in the backyard for hours. How could he have nothing to share? Last Tuesday, Miss Sarah continued, we had show and tell day. Every child brought something except Jake. When I asked him about it that morning, he said he forgot. So I told him no problem, he could just tell us about something he liked at home. But when it was his turn, he started crying. Not loud crying, but silent tears running down his face. He couldn't tell me why he was upset. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. My son had cried at daycare and I had no idea. He hadn't said a word about it when I picked him up that day. I thought back to that evening. He had seemed quiet at dinner maybe, but I had been distracted by work emails. I had let him watch an extra episode of his favorite show because I was tired and needed to finish a project. Oh God, I had completely missed it. Mrs. Patterson, I'm not trying to criticize your parenting, Miss Sarah said gently, and I realized tears were running down my face now too. Please don't think that. I'm bringing this to you because I care about Jake, and I think something might be going on that he doesn't know how to talk about. Sometimes children his age don't have the words to express what they're feeling, so it comes out in other ways. But what could it be? I asked, my voice cracking. We have a good home. His dad and I aren't fighting. There haven't been any big changes. I don't understand. Can I ask you something? Miss Sarah said. And please know I'm asking from a place of genuine curiosity, not judgment. When Jake comes home from daycare, what does your routine look like? I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, trying to think. I pick him up around 5 or 5:15, depending on traffic. We go home. I make dinner while he watches TV or plays with his toys. We eat together usually around 6:30. Then bath time, story time, and bed by 8. Miss Sarah nodded slowly. And during that time, do you talk about his day? Ask him questions about what he did here? Of course, I said, feeling defensive. I always ask how his day was. And what did he usually say? I opened my mouth to answer and then stopped. What did he usually say? I thought back to our conversations in the car on the way home. It was good, he would say. What did you do? I would ask. Played, he would answer. And then I would turn on his favorite playlist, and we would sing songs the rest of the way home. At dinner, I would ask again sometimes, but I was usually also trying to clean up from cooking and check my phone and plan for the next day. He would tell me small things. They had spaghetti for lunch, he played with blocks. He colored a picture. Surface level stuff, little kid stuff. When had I stopped really listening? I think, Miss Sarah said slowly, that Jake might be struggling with something he doesn't know how to tell you about. And I think part of the reason he doesn't share during our circle time is because he's not used to being really heard at home. Those words hit me like a freight train. Not used to being heard. At home. By me. I'm not saying you don't love him, Miss Sarah added quickly. I can see how much you love him every single day when you drop him off and pick him up. The way you hug him, the way you smile at his artwork even when it's just scribbles. But love and attention are different things. Kids need both. I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. Was she right? Had I been so busy, so distracted, so focused on getting through each day that I had stopped actually seeing my own son? There's something else, Miss Sarah said, and I wasn't sure I could handle anything else, but I nodded for her to continue. 2 days ago, during free playtime, I watched Jake playing alone in the reading corner. That's normal. Lots of kids like solo play. But I noticed he was talking to himself. Again, Totally normal for his age. Imaginative play is healthy. But when I got closer to listen, he wasn't playing pretend. He was having a conversation with himself. She paused, and I could see her choosing her words carefully. He was saying, "It's okay, Jake. Mommy's just busy. Mommy still loves you. You're a good boy even when mommy doesn't have time." Over and over. I broke, completely broke. Tears poured down my face, and I couldn't stop them. My baby thought I didn't have time for him. My sweet, precious boy was comforting himself because he thought I was too busy to love him properly. "I'm a terrible mother," I whispered. "No," Miss Sarah said firmly, and she reached out to touch my hand. "You're not. You're a working mom doing your best to juggle a million things. I see it every day with so many parents. But sometimes we get so caught up in the doing, the making dinner, the laundry, the bedtime routine, all the tasks that we forget about the being. Just being present with our kids." I looked over at Jake, still playing happily on the carpet, building something with blocks. He had no idea we were talking about him. He had no idea that his teacher had just shattered my world and maybe, just maybe, given me a chance to fix something I didn't even know was broken. "What do I do?" I asked. "How do I fix this?" Miss Sarah smiled, a real smile this time. "You start tonight. You go home, and instead of the usual routine, you sit down with him. No TV, no phone, just you and him, and you ask him real questions. Not, 'How was your day?' but specific things. What made you laugh today? What was hard today? What did you learn? Who did you play with? What was your favorite part?" And then, and this is the most important part, you actually listen to his answers. Don't multitask. Don't plan dinner in your head while he's talking. Just be there with him. I nodded, wiping my face with a tissue she handed me. "It's going to feel strange at first," she continued. "You might feel like you don't have time for it with everything else you need to do. But Mrs. Patterson, this is the most important thing you need to do. Kids don't need perfect parents. They don't need expensive toys or fancy vacations. They need to feel seen and heard and valued. That's what builds their confidence and their sense of self-worth." I thought about all the parenting books I had read when Jake was a baby. All the advice about sleep training and nutrition and developmental milestones. Why hadn't any of them told me about this? Why hadn't anyone explained that the real work of parenting wasn't about the schedule or the routine, but about the connection? "I also want to suggest," Miss Sarah said gently, "that you might consider talking to someone. A family therapist maybe, who specializes in young children. Not because anything is seriously wrong, but because they can give you tools and strategies for communication. Sometimes it helps to have a professional guide you through these things." I agreed to everything. I would have agreed to anything in that moment. I just wanted to make this right. I wanted my son to know deep in his bones that he was the most important thing in my world. When Jake and I left the daycare that evening, I didn't turn on the music in the car. I didn't check my phone at red lights. Instead, I asked him about his day, really asked him, and waited for real answers. "What was the best part of your day today, buddy?" He thought about it for a moment. When me and Marcus built a really tall tower with the blocks, and it didn't fall down even though it was super tall." "Wow, that sounds amazing!" "Was it taller than you?" "Almost. It was like this high." He held his hand up to show me, even though I was driving and could only glance in the rearview mirror. "That's so cool." "What did you and Marcus do after that?" "We tried to build a bridge, but it kept falling down." "It was hard." "That does sound hard." "How did you feel when it kept falling?" He was quiet for a moment. "A little bit sad." But then Miss Sarah said sometimes hard things take lots of tries. So we kept trying. Miss Sarah is very smart. "Did the bridge work eventually?" "No, but we're gonna try again tomorrow." This conversation, this simple, real conversation, continued all the way home. I learned more about Jake's inner world in that 15-minute drive than I had in weeks, maybe months. How had I been missing this? When we got home, I didn't turn on the TV, I didn't start dinner right away. Instead, we sat on the floor together, and I asked if he wanted to build something with his blocks at home. His face lit up like I had offered him the world. "Really, Mommy? You want to play with me?" Those words broke my heart all over again. Of course I wanted to play with him. He was my son, my whole heart. Why did he seem surprised? We built towers and bridges and entire cities on the living room floor. Dinner was late that night, just scrambled eggs and toast. But Jake didn't care. He talked the whole time, telling me about his friends at daycare, about the songs they sang, about the story Miss Sarah read about a caterpillar. During bath time, instead of rushing through it to get to bedtime, I let him play longer. We made beards out of bubbles and laughed until my cheeks hurt. When I was washing his hair, he looked up at me with those big brown eyes and said, "Mommy, this was the best day." Really? Why? Because you played with me. I tucked him in that night with a heavier heart than I'd ever had, but also with a sense of purpose. This was going to change. I was going to change. The next morning, I woke up 30 minutes earlier than usual. Instead of using that time to get ahead on work emails, I made pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse, and when Jake came into the kitchen, his eyes went wide with joy. "Nikki, pancakes! Is it a special day?" "Every day with you is special," I said, and I meant it. Over breakfast, we talked about what he wanted to do at daycare that day. He told me he hoped they would have art time because he wanted to paint a picture of our dog. I asked him what colors he would use, and he spent 10 minutes explaining his artistic vision for this painting. I listened to every word. At drop-off, instead of the usual quick hug and rush to get to work on time, I knelt down to his level. "I want you to know something, Jake. You are the most important person in the whole world to me. More important than work. More important than anything. I'm sorry if I haven't been showing you that enough, but I promise I'm going to do better. Okay?" He wrapped his little arms around my neck and squeezed tight. "Okay, Mommy, I love you. I love you too, buddy. So much. I can't wait to hear all about your day when I pick you up." Miss Sarah caught my eye from across the room and gave me an encouraging smile. That afternoon, I left work 30 minutes early. I rearranged my schedule, delegated some tasks, and set boundaries I should have set a long time ago. My son needed me, and that was more important than any deadline or meeting. When I picked Jake up, the first thing he said was, "Mommy, I painted the dog picture. It's still wet, but Miss Sarah said you can see it." We looked at the painting together, and I asked him about every single detail. Why he chose blue for the sky. Why he made the grass purple. What the dog was doing in the picture. He explained it all with such enthusiasm, and I realized that he'd always had this much to say. I just hadn't been making space for him to say it. Over the next few weeks, our whole routine changed. We had dinner together at the table every night, no phones allowed. We established a new tradition of thorns and roses, where we each shared the hardest part of our day and the best part. Jake loved it. Some nights his thorn would be something small like dropping his crayon. Other nights it would be bigger, like feeling left out when his friends played without him. I started reading parenting books again, but different ones this time. Books about emotional intelligence and connection. I learned about active listening, about validating feelings, about being present. It all seemed so simple, and yet I had been getting it so wrong. One evening about a month after Miss Sarah's phone call, I was tucking Jake into bed when he said something that made me stop in my tracks. "Mommy, I was really sad before, but I'm happy now." "You were sad before?" "When? I don't know. Before. When you were always busy. I thought maybe you didn't like me anymore." Hearing those words out loud was devastating. "Oh, Jake, baby, I have always liked you. I have always loved you so much." "I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. That was wrong of me. It's okay, Mommy. You're not busy anymore. Now you always want to play with me and talk to me. That makes me really happy." He said it so simply, like it was just a fact, not a judgment. Kids are like that. They forgive so easily when you show up for them. About 6 weeks after the phone call, I had my next parent-teacher conference with Miss Sarah. This time, I wasn't terrified when I sat down. I was nervous, yes, but hopeful too. "I have to tell you," Miss Sarah said, her eyes bright, "the change in Jake has been remarkable. He's participating in circle time now." He raises his hand to share. "Last week during show and tell, he brought in a photo of the two of you at the park and talked for 5 minutes about your day together. 5 minutes. I had to gently redirect him because other kids needed turns. I laughed, wiping away tears that were happy this time. He's more confident, more engaged, and his social interactions have improved so much. Whatever you're doing at home, keep doing it. I'm just being present, I said. I'm just actually paying attention to my own child. It seems like such a basic thing, but somehow I had forgotten how to do it. Don't be too hard on yourself, Miss Sarah said kindly. Parenting is the hardest job in the world, and we're all figuring it out as we go. The important thing is that you listened when I told you there was a problem and you took action to fix it. Not all parents do that. Some get defensive or in denial. You chose to change, and your son is thriving because of it. On the drive home that day, I thought about everything that had led to this moment. A phone call that terrified me had ended up being the greatest gift. It had woken me up from a kind of sleepwalking through parenthood. I had been going through the motions, checking the boxes, making sure Jake was fed and clean and safe. But I hadn't been truly seeing him. I hadn't been giving him what he needed most, which was my attention and presence. That evening, as Jake and I sat together on the couch reading books before bed, he leaned his head against my shoulder with a contented sigh. Mommy? Yeah? Buddy? I'm really glad you're my mommy. My throat got tight. I'm really glad you're my son. You know what? I'm the luckiest mommy in the whole world because I get to be your mom. He looked up at me with those big brown eyes, so full of trust and love. Really? Really. You're my favorite person in the entire universe. He giggled and snuggled closer, and we went back to reading. But my mind was racing with thoughts about how close I had come to missing this. To missing him. To being so consumed by busyness and productivity that I forgot the one thing that mattered most. I think that's the trap so many of us fall into as parents. We're told to do it all, to have it all, to be it all. We're supposed to have successful careers and perfect homes and well-adjusted children, and active social lives and hobbies and health and happiness. The pressure is crushing. And somewhere in the middle of trying to juggle all those expectations, we lose sight of what our kids actually need from us. They don't need perfection. They don't need a spotless house or gourmet meals or expensive educational toys. They need us, our time, our attention, our presence. They need to know that we see them, that we hear them, that they matter more than anything else on our to-do list. It's been 6 months now since Miss Sarah's phone call. 6 months of intentional parenting, of putting down my phone, of saying no to things that don't matter so I can say yes to the one thing that does. And Jake is flourishing. His teacher tells me he's becoming a leader in the classroom. He helps other kids when they're struggling. He shares his ideas during group discussions. He's confident and happy and secure. And it's not because I'm a perfect parent now. I still make mistakes. I still have days where I'm distracted or tired or short-tempered. But the difference is that I'm aware of it now. I catch myself. I apologize when I mess up. I keep showing up, keep trying, keep prioritizing him. Last week, Jake asked me if we could have a special day, just the two of us. I said yes without hesitation. We went to the Children's Museum, got ice cream, played at the park until sunset. On the drive home, sticky with ice cream and tired from playing, Jake said, "Mommy, this was the best day of my whole life." "Mine too, buddy." "Mine too." And the amazing thing is, I meant it. Not because we did anything extraordinary, but because I was fully present for it. I wasn't thinking about work or chores or what I needed to do tomorrow. I was just there, in that moment, with my son. That phone call from Miss Sarah changed our lives. It saved our relationship in ways I'm still discovering. It taught me that being a good parent isn't about doing everything right. It's about being willing to hear when you're getting something wrong and having the courage to change. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, please don't wait for a phone call from your child's teacher. Don't wait for a wake-up call. Start today. Tonight, when your child comes home, put down your phone. Turn off the TV. Sit down with them and ask real questions. Listen to real answers. Be present. I know you're busy. I know you're tired. I know there are a million things demanding your attention, but your child is only going to be this age once. They're only going to need you in this particular way for a short window of time, and once it's gone, you can't get it back. I almost missed it. I almost missed the magic of this time with Jake because I was too distracted by everything else. But I got a second chance, and I'm not going to waste it. Every evening now, after Jake is asleep, I stand in his doorway for a moment and watch him sleep. I think about the little boy who used to comfort himself in the reading corner at daycare, telling himself that mommy was just busy. And then I think about the confident, happy child he is now, secure in the knowledge that he is loved and seen and valued. That transformation didn't require anything expensive or complicated. It just required me to show up, to be present, to listen, to care more about him than anything else. Sometimes the most important lessons come from the most unexpected places. Mine came from a phone call I was terrified to receive. A phone call that made me look hard at myself and my priorities. A phone call that ultimately saved not just my relationship with my son, but taught me what it really means to be a parent. Jake is 5 now, getting ready to start kindergarten in the fall. People tell me how fast time goes, how I should cherish every moment. And I do, not because I'm trying to hold on to something that's slipping away, but because I'm finally fully present for it. I'm not watching his childhood through a screen or over my shoulder while I multitask. I'm living it with him, moment by moment, conversation by conversation, hug by hug. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you for listening. If something in this resonated with you, I hope you'll share it with another parent who might need to hear it. Tag a mom or a dad who is juggling too much, who is trying to do it all, who might need the reminder that being present matters more than being perfect. And if you're that parent yourself, please know that it's not too late. It's never too late to change your approach, to reconnect with your child, to rebuild what might have been lost in the chaos of daily life. Your kids don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be there. That phone call from Miss Sarah was the best gift anyone has ever given me. It was wrapped in fear and delivered with concern, but inside was the truth I needed to hear. My son needed more from me, not more things. Not more activities, just more me. And now he has it. Now we have each other in a way we didn't before. And I will never, ever take that for granted again. If you found this story helpful or meaningful, please consider subscribing to this channel. Sharing these experiences helps us all feel less alone in the challenges of parenting. Drop a comment and tell me about a time someone gave you a wake-up call about your parenting. How did you respond? What changed? Let's support each other in this incredible, difficult, beautiful journey of raising tiny humans into wonderful people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough about your own children to spend time learning and growing. That's what makes you a good parent. Not perfection, but the willingness to keep trying, keep learning, keep showing up. Be present. That's the whole secret. Just be present.